Okay, everyone. So we have about 66 people online, and we might have a few more people join in a moment. I just want to thank Michele and Stephen for taking the time to run this workshop, this open workshop on IOTA and IOTA implementation for smart buildings. I think it's quite interesting. We'll be discussing a roadmap for IOTA as well. I just want to very briefly and succinctly discuss that if you are interested in blockchain applications for construction, please join the mailing list on constructionblockchain.org. And then I'll keep you posted on the events we are running and the projects we have in relation to blockchain application and the construction sector. So all the information is there. I can very briefly share my screen. So here in the constructionblockchain.org, you have all the different themes that we explore. So the CBC is generally interested in blockchain applications in relation to construction from the perspective of legal applications, financing, culture, and change. This is mainly adoption. And we have more details here: design, construction, safety, building services, energy and sustainability, smart cities and social welfare, and policy and compliance. I would ask you to explore this. We are also publishing white papers and presenting this in the Parliament as evidence for the development of policy in the construction sector, of the use of blockchain in the construction sector. And this, of course, is related to smart contracts. And we have a number of events. So we have the IOTA workshop happening now, but also the second blockchain in construction research workshop online very soon. This is on the 15th of April. And then we have the CBC conference. This will be in October. So please subscribe, and we'll keep you updated with the things we are doing. And if you have any questions, contact me or contact Leo, and we'll get back to you. There are many ways to participate in all this, including getting involved with the technical projects, the technology open source projects that we'll be deploying very soon. So with no further ado, I believe Michele will be presenting briefly on the IOTA Foundation. And then after that, we start the workshop with Stephen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I will give a quick overview of the IOTA Foundation, the organization behind the IOTA protocol that will be discussed and present more in detail by Stephen later in his demonstration. Let me just quickly grab my slides, make use of them so it's easier to follow. Okay, thank you for joining. My name is Michele Nati. I work with IOTA Foundation. I'm the head of telco infrastructure development. Been working with Abel and Stephen since I think one of the first event last year as part of the CBC, as well also supporting Stephen in what you will see later demonstrated. The vision of IOTA is basically connecting people and machine using a decentralized protocol that is not requiring fee like we have seen in a blockchain and previous decentralized protocol. There is always the need for paying fees when you issue transaction toward a ledger. The mission of IOTA is to remove this fee, but maintain the same properties of security and also increase scalability of the protocol. The foundation, as been established in 2017. It's registered in Germany as a not-for-profit organization. It's actually the first regulated foundation based in Europe that aim to develop a decentralized and distributed ledger technology. We work with different partners in academia, government, and business. You can see a list of them below. Some of them are also involved in this sector, and especially in the smart energy sector, like NG, as well as we work with a consortium of industrial standardization body like ICLAS, EOMG. Next slide. The foundation is currently made of 110 people, employees from all over the world. So we are decentralized not only as a technology, but also as an organization itself. All people work since a long time remotely already, even much before than the pandemic kicked in. So we are covering 25 nationalities, but we share one vision. The vision is the one to create this distributed ledger protocol that help to connect people and things without fees. We are not only working as a foundation that develop technology, we are also trying to promote technology adoption in different domains, different sectors. One of these is now construction that is part of a larger, let's say, scope of infrastructure development as well as smart energy. We continue to fuel research and innovation, and not only inside our own department, but in collaboration with the academic organization. And we are also issuing grants for them to support our work. And the same we do with the development of an ecosystem fund that help to support the IOTA ecosystem technology and company that want to develop on IOTA. Bit of history. In 2010, the founders of IOTA start to explore the current issue with the existing blockchain protocol, mainly related to scalability. In 2014, there was the first concept of the IOTA, the centralized protocol based on the centralized distributed secret graph, DAG, which are the different data structure than the chain of block that you have seen in blockchains. In 2015, there was an initial raise of funding for developing further the protocol. It was not an ICO like you have seen, many promises and not much delivery. It was just a small crowd fund that was helping to launch the IOTA network. In 2017, finally, the foundation was established, and now we are in 2020 where we have a production-ready protocol that can support different and various use cases. As I said, our mission is to create this ledger that allow people to connect and share their data as well digital assets, or establish their decentralized digital identity, empowering them to control who actually access their information and their data. Data must be secure and might be accessible on demand by access given by the rightful party. And we want to be able to provide a protocol that is easy to integrate even with a constrained device like Internet of Things device, to enable a machine-to-machine economy and communication based on this data. The IOTA technology, you see an example of the growing IOTA ledger. As you can see, it's not a chain of blocks that have to be mined and that are attached to the main block, but it's called a direct secret graph. And in particular, in our case, in our implementation, we call this the tangle. You can see it's quite entangled. That's the reason, because the way it builds transaction is basically transaction can append to previous transactions, not in the same place, not in the same block, but in different portion of the network. This allows to have two things. One thing is that you don't have this super user that you call miner that block a bit the scalability of the network and impose fees to the network. You can attach to many different points. All nodes have the same role in IOTA, and this guarantee much more scalable and distributed infrastructure where the many transactions can be processed in parallel. So as a result, we have, again, an immutable ledger for sharing data, not only data about monetary transaction, but also pure data that you want immutably stored in the ledger, which is still secure, as secure is the blockchain, other distributed ledger, but it's also highly scalable and low energy, has low energy requirement. Not having miners means that we don't need fees and incentivization for triggering this process. Next, that's allowed to create the main distinction between IOTA and other blockchain infrastructure, where you have basically fees that you have to incur in any kind of transaction that you issue, whether it's a value transaction, exchanging value between wallets, or is sending and storing data into the ledger. You always have fees. IOTA allowed to have a parallel infrastructure where both you can process value transaction, exchanging monetary value between wallets, but you can also send and store data into the ledger in parallel without incurring fees in any case. IOTA comes with a basic technology, which is the ledger. On top of that, we start to create a second and third layer protocol that include decentralized digital identity, secure data streams, access management, as well as smart contract that is not shown here. And then we have started to develop also a library that allow to use and connect to the ledger from different device, as well as provide different use case and different solution for that. So like certificate and audit trails. Few of the technology you will see later in the demonstration. I think Stephen will give more technical details. One of these is IOTA streams. Basically, IOTA stream is a second layer protocol that allow to create encrypted data streams on the Tangle. So it's similar to the concept of channel that you have seen in other ledger. This is particularly suitable for sharing time series data that, for instance, come from one source. It can be a sensor, and attach all of them in the same, in different position of the ledger, but all linked together. So for reading them, you just need to know where the first of this transaction, the data transaction, is stored, and then you can subsequently read the other. You can never go backwards, so this allows to create also some sort of access control on top of the fact that data are also encrypted. This guarantee actually that data are managed by the source and sovereign by the source of the data itself. Other than IOTA stream, we have IOTA access. IOTA access is basically an access control management protocol that basically use the ledger and both of the capability that the ledger offer for two functionality. Basically, it's defining policy on which device can be used and trigger this policy and access to the device only if a payment is performed between the wallet that one is the wallet that the device is being used, one is the wallet of the device that requests access. Third protocol, it's IOTA identities. I don't know how familiar you are with the decentralized digital identities, but IOTA has implemented its own version, but based on a standard like W3C standard for decentralized identity documents and verifiable credential in order to create a set of primitives that allow to manage a self-sovereign identity. So basically, identity in the form of public key and a document, the ID document describing this public key and then points for verifying ownership of this public key can be self-sovereign created by the owner of the identity on the ledger. And to this can be used this infrastructure to attach a set of signed verifiable credentials that express attributes of this identity. So this allows to really create a decentralized identity ecosystem where identities and attributes and their access is managed by the owner of the identity, and the verification can happen thanks to the information that are securely and immutably stored into the ledger in a decentralized way without requiring any end-to-end integration with the centralized identity management system that create honeypot for attacker because all the information are there, and create also single point of failure in case of denial of service attack, among the other. IOTA recently just added to the protocol the possibility to create tokenized asset. We are now exploring the possibility to create, and we have requests for comments for a protocol to create both colored tokens that can be used together with IOTA token, but without the volatility associated to the token in supporting and fueling some kind of incentive mechanism for any app developer and with apps, and as well creation of non-fungible token that you are very familiar with. IOTA is also smart contracts. We are launching now the alpha phase. We just released the alpha release of smart contract and progress in their development. So IOTA smart contracts are second layer smart contracts. So this means that they're not embedded in each node. So this does mean that when you want to run an IOTA smart contract, you don't need to run this in all the nodes, creating a scalability issue and request for fees, high fees like you have seen in Ethereum smart contract, but the contract run on a second layer. So there is only a dedicated set of nodes that can be selected that is called committee that will run the IOTA smart contract, the protocol, and all of them will come with an output that will be using input from the ledger. It is immutable and will write output in the ledger, and everybody will sign this until it's not reached a quorum of how many, and this is a parameter can be set, how many of these nodes in the committee have agreed to the same outcome of the smart contract. So this brings smart contract is much more efficient, much more scalable. You can see a network running, a IOTA network running many smart contracts in parallel, not only one at a time, and without need for fees or very limited fees, just incentivize the work of some of these nodes in the committee, but they are not bound to the value of the token and the volatility of the token like you will see in gas and the Ethereum token in the Ethereum network. Very quickly, as I mentioned before, IOTA will work with many standardization activities. We've been working with the TM forum in the telco infrastructure development side. We work with the OMG to standardize the use of the ledger, the interface, the API that we provide for our main ledger and other protocol. In the context of smart city, we work with the Fireware Foundation that provide many technology for smart cities and Internet of Things device. And we are also active in the Linux Foundation. As I said, we cover different domains. Our main activities now, it's in the mobility automotive sector and global trade and supply chain sector. Then we have other activities in different domains that we are now trying to boost our presence in. Few quick example, but you will see more and more detailed use of IOTA with Steven later. We have done work with the Jaguar Land Rover in the past to create a car wallet that allow people that drive a car to monetize the value of their data, the data the car generates. So this data can be stored in IOTA streams like you have seen before, and this remain private to the owner of the car. Access can be given only after the payment to the car wallet is performed. So you can imagine a scenario where data can be crowdsourced from car running in driving in a given city district. So from a district manager, from a city manager that want to know the status of the roads or things like this. This data can be crowdsourced, but crowdsourced in a way that the owner of the data control who access the data, and that's the possibility to monetize the data. This is the real link between IoT, connected machine, and machine economy that IOTA can enable. So you can see in this use case. Another scenario that you will see later, it's about creating positive energy district. It's how to enable buildings that actually not only consume energy, but also produce energy with new renewable technology source like solar panel that can cover the whole facade of a building, how they can generate and sell this excess on peer-to-peer market. So this needs to connect the device generating, need to connect the building, need to know what kind of energy amount can be sold to the marketplace, and need to collect payments directly at device level, at solar panel level. So this again is something that IOTA can enable. You will see this in much more detail with Steven. Something similar we have done as well. It's some work with the climate kick. So the idea is that actually you can create, and that can be relevant to construction and blockchain topics. You can create digital twin of buildings that allow to basically understand how efficient is a building, to rank the building efficiency in terms of energy consumption in a way that is actually auditable and immutable from the source, because data can come from the building that produces this digital twin can directly go into the ledger and remain there immutable and also auditable for future use. And that's pretty much. I think it was quite of a rush, but I want to give Stephen as well the opportunity to deep dive now into how the technology has been used, not only what the technology is about. So if you have some question, probably we can take at the end of the Stephen session, I guess, I would say. And that was me. Yeah.
We can, I mean,
you can reach my mail as well.
People can ask questions now, I think, Michele, if that's okay with you, just while it's maybe fresh in people's minds. There was a lot of content there, so I'm happy to allow any questions. If there's anyone out there who has any comments, questions for Michele. We have a hand raised. Abel is raising his hand.
Just testing, but a quick question.
Yeah.
Michele, it's I'm very curious about the relationship of IOTA Foundation and Hyperledger and what's going on there. What is the plan, basically?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I mentioned Hyperledger. So there is now what we have done so far. There was an implementation of a gateway, IOTA Hyperledger gateway, and that was done independently. Of course, Hyperledger at the moment, it's something that we keep an eye on. There is some work in East Africa that I didn't mention before, so where the ledger, IOTA ledger is being used by the Trademark East Africa organization. That is an organization that helps to, let's say, promote the development in East Africa, whether it's in terms of technology or in terms of general infrastructure. And there we are using the ledger to simplify the process of exporting goods from East Africa, in particular from Kenya in this case. And that is very similar to something that also Hyperledger provide in the let's say flavor of IBM TradeLens project. So there is some kind of activity now going on where both ledger will be analyzed in terms of interoperability, how they can satisfy the same needs. So that's one work that's somehow linked to that. As well, of course, Hyperledger and especially Hyperledger Aries is very much devoted activities around identity and decentralized identities. Of course, when now with the maturity of the ledger and the IOTA identities going forward, there will be much more interrelation and things we will explore together with Hyperledger and all these sort of activities in terms of identities. That's, let's say, from a strategic point of view, from let's say a more technological point of view, the main difference is that Hyperledger is a permission network. And of course, whenever you want to deploy an Hyperledger-based network, you have to first set up the nodes and the consortium that is behind who is running the nodes. IOTA comes as a main technology, as a permissionless network. The main IOTA network, the main net is permissionless. Everybody can run an IOTA node. And eventually, you can also have a flavor of private network, and you can decide this and do this in a permissioned environment. So these are the main, let's say, technology difference between the two. Of course, Hyperledger is blockchain-based, IOTA is DAG-based, decentralized acyclic graph. So these are the few things, but definitely, yes, in the future, as also our technology mature and the different interrelation, especially in different use case and domain, there will be the need to explore more interoperability, of course, with other ledger. One of those is Hyperledger.
So thank you. Thanks.
Welcome.
Okay, we have a question in the chat from Ben. Can you read that, Michele?
Yeah, when the smart contract will be available and what will be the programming language. Okay, I'm not 100%. I'm up to date with this one. I think we are in the alpha release now. I think there will be further release, I think, next quarter, if I'm not wrong. And definitely the language, we are looking toward interoperable smart contract. So, and we are aiming to support different set of languages. And the smart contract, and virtual machine, so including the Ethereum virtual machine. So the smart contract might come also in language that you are already familiar. So for now, I think for the current implementation, we're using WASM machine and language. But in future, yes, there will be more interoperability and compatibility with existing programming language. I would say Solidity as well. And yeah, no, I don't think yeah, I'm not 100% sure I'm up to date with this one collaboration with Bosch and Fetch. Yeah, I've seen this news as well, but I'm not 100% sure about the aim of this cooperation at the moment. If it's directly the foundation or somebody using the technology, because as I said, technology is open source and can be used by our ecosystem and can be used by everybody anyway.
Awesome. I think now then, Michele, thank you very much for presenting. And I think, Stephen, if you're ready, I think perhaps we start.